Hey guys, so I'm back and we're almost at the end of this tutorial. So I want to thank you guys for sticking along with me in all of this. I know it's been gruesome, to some point to have to deal with, with my blah 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 blah. I know I don't have, a voice made for radio. That's for that's for sure, and I apologize. But I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to give you the information that I have and all the knowledge that I have. Especially, keeping it light for some of you guys who have never dealt with web design and development ever before. So it's a little challenging for me as well because I have to keep it to a level of experience that I know I'm not going to overwhelm you with concepts that are going to be outside of the scope of your experience. So it's challenging to try to keep it at that beginner and try to keep away or try to keep out a lot of the stuff that I normally want to use to explain it, but I know it would just confuse you. So just bear with me. And like I said, you can use the comment section to ask any questions if you didn't get anything that I was trying to convey to you, and then I'll do my best to explain it again. So all right, so in this video, we're going to talk about the web dev tool, okay? And the reason why I want to talk about this web dev tool is because this is your biggest friend, guys. This is like you're going to use this all the time, I'm telling you. So I want you to get familiar with what does the browser development tool, or they call it the web dev tool, they call it the browser dev tool. um, they have the different names. They call it the console. I mean, they got so many different names for it. But um, I want you to get familiar with how you use it and what are the many things you can do with it, and to set up, to debug your screen and different things. So I'm over here in the screen, and just all right. So I'm over here in the screen, and I'm gonna go ahead and start debugging my screen here. So first thing I want to do, there are many ways to access the web dev tool. One way to do it is just by right clicking on the screen anywhere and click inspect, and that will automatically open it. Okay, so you see. Another way to do it is by hitting F12. So if I close this here and I hit F12, oops, that's my nope, that's not it. I'm using a Mac, so I apologize. All right, so it's a little different with a Mac. So if you hit F12, I'm sure you know how to hit F12. So I keep using the volume. Anyway, so if you hit F12, it will come up. And another way to do it is by accessing the menu item in your browser window and go to the view, and then inside the view go to developer, and in developer click on dev tools, and then it will show up. So there's different ways to get to it, but I feel like for me the easiest way to do it is just either F12, well, if I knew how to do it in a Mac, or the super easiest way is right click and click inspect. Now why I use the right click option is also because I can get to it specifically. I can get to the specific item that I want to inspect by doing that. If I hit F12, it's just going to load the entire thing. It's going to load the document without anything highlighted. But if I want to check this particular image, for example, I can click on it and go to the inspector, and it will go directly. See that it's highlighted. It will go directly there. So I like that. Okay. All right. So another thing that I like to do from here is I come over here to, bear with me here. Okay, right here to the network tab. So I like to come to the network tab and I like to click on disable cache. The reason why I do this is because I want my applications when I'm developing to not be cached. If they are cached, you may not be able to see everything that you're changing in your website. Um, show up automatically because the browser will try to cache. Um, and what a cache means is basically like the browser gets whatever is being deployed to the screen and is going to say, okay, I'm gonna save an instant of this, and I'm gonna keep this kind of like in a little piece of memory, so that whenever you visit this page again, I can show you that without having to re-upload again all of the files and all of the stuff and all of the images. So I'll show you the cache instead. However, that's not very good for when you're developing, because when you're developing, you're making changes constantly. So you want to see everything fresh. So it's better that you tell the browser, don't cache anything for me. I want to make sure that I see all of my changes. Okay. There's a lot of other heavy duty stuff here that we're not gonna cover in this video. But I mean, if you want to mess around with them, be my guest. Just be careful. But this one right here, especially, that's cool. You want to use that. All right. So another thing I like to do is I click over here. Sometimes keeping this docked over here on the bottom is okay. Some people like it docked on the side like that. Some people like it docked on this side. It depends how you really want to see it. Me personally, sometimes I want to see the entire screen, so I undock it. And when I undock it, I can keep it on a separate window. And then if I have two monitors, I can put it, away on another monitor, and I can still see what is going on in the entire page. Okay, so I use that a lot. But for single monitors, if you only have one monitor, just keep it docked this way, and then you can see everything. If you need to check your your responsiveness, you want to make sure that your width is working. So I would recommend to have it in the bottom. Okay, if you put it on the side like this, it's going to limit your width to this width. Okay, so we'll do it here for now. All right, so what are the many things? Actually, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna put it in the bottom because I'm gonna keep resizing it and all that. So that's crazy. All right, so what are the many things that you can use the console or the web dev log here for? One is to check your HTML, another one is to check your CSS, and also to check your JavaScript, and then also to check your resources. So starting by the HTML, one thing that I think is great about the HTML part or portion or everything basically for this matter in here is that any changes you can make here will obviously not stick, right? It will be all done on your screen temporarily, and as soon as you refresh, it goes away because you're not really doing it to the code. You're not really affecting the code. You're not changing the code, but you can test what it will look like if you did that. So like say for example, say I didn't want an nav bar, right? If I didn't want an nav bar and I wanted to see what it looked like, but I don't really want to go to my code and delete it there because it could cause some issues. I can do it here, and I can have an idea of what it's going to look like, and I can have an idea of what it's going to end up like. And then if I like it, then I can go make those changes in my code. So a good way to do it is say come over here, and I can either hide it, and that all it did was just basically it keeps it there, but it keeps the HTML. All it did was just hide it from me. Or I can click on it, have it clicked on it, and click where's the delete? Delete, and click delete, and then it actually deletes it from the code. So now if you went to your actual code and you deleted it, this is exactly what will happen, right? This is what it will look like. So now you have kind of like a this is what it will happen if I did that, right? But without actually doing it. All right, so you control Z. If I use control Z or undo, it will come back. Another thing you can do from here is you can actually add stuff to it. So say for example, right here. So let's say I wanted to add another or something else in here, and I want to see what it would look like, right? I can right click on it and I can click edit text or edit at HTML and HTML. I like to do this one. So I can come over here and I can make this an H2 and see what it would look like if I use an H2. And this is what will happen. So now if you go to your code and you change it for like this, make these changes there, then this will become permanent. But at least you already checked it out on the browser and make sure that this is how it works. Okay, so Control Z, go back to that, and all the things you can do is you can come over here and add styles in here and all that stuff, or just basically just double click in there and um, do something like this. For example, change the text, and you see how it changed. So things like that. There are many things you can do from the HTML here to help you with all this stuff, and check your HTML. So that's a good thing. Okay. Another thing that I like to do is I like to use it for my CSS. So here's my CSS, and it tells me everything about any particular element that I'm working with. So if I'm working with the nav bar here, right? If I go to the nav bar, it will tell me that I'm using this class, which you can see the class right here, custom nav bar. It would tell me what each class that I'm using is rendering. So I can see that this is the background and the colors and all that stuff, right? And let's say I wanted to change my colors and I wanted to, see what it would look like. I can come over here, click on this and make it like that. And now the border is that color. And then I want to see what this will look like. Also, if it was that color, I can click on that and then go over to that color and click it. And now I can see how it looks like if it was yellow and black. So you see what I mean. And now you can go, now that if you like this, you can grab this and go to that styles file, and this particular line right here, actually, I'll go ahead and do that. So now I can come over here and go into my style CSS and look for 91. And here it is. So now I can come over here and change this code by this code here, right? Put this code instead. It's telling me exactly what it is. It's on my styles, CSS, SAS, and it's in line 91. So it will tell you exactly what it is. And you can change the color there, and then it will become permanent after you run it. So you see how the CSS becomes, pretty cool. So I'm gonna undo all this. Another thing you can do is, so you see what it says element style. So this is what it will create an inline styling here. So let's say, for example, I don't want to change this color here because that will change it to everywhere this class is implemented. Okay. I just want to change it to this span only. That's it. Not everywhere else where this is being used. Okay. I can come over here and say color green. I can change the color to green, and now it just changed it there, but you see it added a style, an inline style to that particular word, right? It didn't add it to a class. So that means that nothing else will be green, just this only, okay? So that's a good thing. And you can just get rid of it and go back to that. All right, so that's another thing to do. Another great way to use this is, so you notice here, I have, well, this one, for example. I have this hover. You see how it goes to gray, from white to gray? So if I come over here and inspect that, and then I got this right here, right? So the color is white that you can see here. If I click on this, I can check different states, right? And in this case, I want to check the hover state. So now the hover state, you see this little orange dot. It's telling me that the hover state is activated. So I think actually the hover state is not, you see how it didn't change? It remained white only if I hover. That means that the hover state is not there. So I'll check it on this one. And there we go. You see now how it stays gray. It didn't change back to white. That's where the hover is. So I can remove it from here and just work on this one. So here, this means that by activating the hover here, I made it stay steady. So if I look down, I should be able now to see actually on here where that's working. And here it is. It's saying that the custom navbar class with the navbar collapse and all this code when it's hover. See this? When it's hover, do that to the other. So this is a little complicated way to do it. And I apologize for that. But unfortunately, that's the way it works. But my point is, I can check for the particular hover state and find that particular style that is to the hover, and then change that hover to something else that I want that I want it to look like. So by doing so, now I can see how my hover is going to be different, whenever. And then I just go to this line 77, and change it there. So you can change. Um, so you can change for the hover, you can change for visited, you can change for focus. You see how that purple line go around? That's the outline for focus. And you can check for actives. So you can check for a lot of different, you can check for a lot of different things. So this is how you use it for CSS. And there's many ways you can do with CSS. You can check a lot of the stuff that is being rendered from your CSS code. You can see it here. And you'll also here see the computer, and the computer would tell you the color that is being used and where it's coming from, in which line, and it will also take you there to that particular line. So you can inspect the CSS there. But any changes you do here are not going to be permanent. Remember this, never permanent. Okay. All right. Console. I've already showed you this before. This is basically how you check your JavaScript. So anything you do in your JavaScript, when you basically do something there, and then you put console log, it will log whatever you have there into here to make sure that it checked. And we did that before, and if you haven't, then you should go back to other tutorials in this tutorial series and see how it was done, and then you'll see what I mean, because I did it in plenty of occasions. And I use a console log to basically just do that. Okay. And the console log, you can also do JavaScript in here as well. So you should be you should be able to use your console log to also do some JavaScript functions, like simple math functions and things like that, or even just check your window, some of your window object stuff. You can see it in here too. So you can use the console log to actually code and see things happening. But for the most part, it's most commonly used to JavaScript debugging. Okay. And then the last thing that you want to do is, do you want to use it for, is for resources. So if you come here to the resources, you're going to see your asset folder. And in your asset folder, you're going to see your CSS, you're going to see your images, you're going to see a bunch of stuff depending on your build. But in this case, I want to see the images that I'm using. And that's pretty much all of my assets. This image, this image, this image, and this image. So I have 4 images being used here. And there isn't really a whole lot that you can do, but other than it gives you, when you hover over it, it tells you where they are hosted inside your application. So there isn't really much you can do to it, but it helps you if you're trying to inspect a website that is not yours, and you were wondering, what that picture is or whatever. I don't know, like anything like that. But you can check for a lot of this stuff like that. And here you can check for any CSS that is being rendered. So this is a CSS, this is the SAS, and things like that. All right, and this is a pretty quick. Don't worry about all this stuff that I have here, like Redux and Augury. This is for heavy-duty JavaScript frameworks like React and Angular and things like that. So just don't worry about that stuff. You will not have this in yours. Okay, so just don't look into this, because you will not have those unless you actually have React, and unless you're using React and Angular. But for the most part, this is pretty much all that I really wanted to show you from this. And like I said, always have this open and always inspect and try things out on your browser by using this. And then when you're done, just basically refresh like I just did, and everything goes away. Okay, everything goes back to normal. All right, one more thing. If you're working on a project already and you're being hired, you were hired, you have a job, and you wanted to show something to your employer, but you don't want to make the changes to be, you don't want to make final changes. You can use this to change a lot of the stuff that you want to change as much as it lets you without refreshing. And then make a screenshot and then send it to your boss and tell them, hey, you know what, that red, I don't like it, but this is what it will look like green. So you can change it all to green, and make a screenshot, send it to your boss, and then if he likes it, now you know that you have the go ahead for it, and you can go to the code and make the changes permanent. So that's a good way to do it too. All right, well guys, that's about all I have here. I only have one more tutorial, one more video to talk about, and then we'll be wrapping up with this tutorial. I want to thank you all for sticking along again with me and through all of this. And don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends, whoever wants to learn a little bit more about this, and keep your eye open for the next tutorials. I'm thinking the next tutorial is probably going to be JavaScript. All right, see you on the next one.